So welcome back, people, to another video. Today we are making a hybrid twist pen with a gunmetal kit. So I have my end piece right there. Then I have my little mechanism. So now I have my little pieces, the tip of the pen and the piece that goes in the center of the pen. And I want to get, so here's my brass tube and the two pieces that I have, and I want to get both of these pieces onto this. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting them a certain way, and first I have to measure them out to where I get it to what I need it to be. So once I get that done, as you can see, I'm using my caliper. I'm using the end of it as a straight edge so that I can get a good line, and now I have that at my line. So now I'm gonna start cutting, and I cut one piece and it was sliding, it kept moving around. So then I grabbed my other piece and I put it on there because it made it more stable and it kept it from moving. So there's a second piece, and you see it doesn't move as much. So I cut one piece and then I stacked it onto the other piece so that I could cut it. Had to readjust it a few times here and there so that I could stay straight as possible. So now I have both of my pieces, and both of these pieces, I didn't cut them as flush as I needed them to be. And you can see on the little piece, I have a little line. So when I was cleaning them up, I grabbed a piece of sandpaper, and before I grabbed the sandpaper, I dry fitted them to see how much I had to sand off of the sides. And as you can see here, they're not flush, they're a little off to one side. So I could fix that with some sandpaper. So that's what I did. And I used sandpaper. After every time I would sand it, I would check it to see how it fit. And every time after that, I just kept trying it until I got it to what I wanted it to be, or how it fit the best, basically. So now I have both of the pieces. I'm slowly getting to what I need them to be, and so that they could sit flush onto each other. So once I get it to what I want it to be, or how it should be, like flush with one another, it took a long time basically just to clean them up like that. So here I have both of my pieces ready to go. I got my little brass tube, and before I do anything, you can see the little black lines on there. If you want to go back, you can go back to see those little black lines. I put those black lines on there so that you can see, or so that I could see and know how far to put the piece of wood onto it, so that they could be equal. And I say equal by so one side won't be too far onto the tube than the other. And yeah, so here I am getting ready to glue it, but the glue is being annoying because sometimes it gets annoying. So I had to use a tube and broke off the little piece that was holding the glue in. So now I get ready to glue them. So here is me gluing it. So when I glue them, I usually twist it so that I get a good coating around the tube, and I put a little bit of excess purposely so that when I put them together, the piece of wood and the tube, so as you can see right here, I slide it in and I twist it. So I'm watching to where I needed the line to be. So once I have it there marked on the line, I set it down, and yeah. So right now I'm thinking to see like if I did it right, and yeah, I did it. Yes, I did do it right. So now I grab my other piece, and yeah, so now I get ready to do it again. So this time I won't really spin it on there because of the shape of the way it is at an angle. So what I do is I put a lot of glue on there so that it gets a good coat all the way around. And once I do that, I grab the other piece and I set it in there. So as you can see, I could twist it a little bit, just a little bit. So now that I have these pieces glued together, I will grab my clamp and make sure that it's under pressure so that the glue and the two pieces of wood fuse together, or not fuse but get stuck together. So here we have the pen blank, or the wood pen blank, there you go. So I didn't use a drill bit or the drill, that drill bit in the back. I didn't use it because these were pre-drilled, as I said earlier in the video, but I still have to use my pen reamer. So here I will show you how to take off a drill bit. So you grab your chuck key and you put it in that little hole and you twist it to the left. And a good way to remember your right and left, how to loosen it, is righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you grab your drill bit, put it to the side. Now you grab your pen reamer and put it on there, and you make sure that it's tightened, because if it's not tightened, it won't really work. So yeah, once I have everything set up, I get ready and I put it in the little vise that I have. This one's specifically made for pens because it has those two little angles, and you could put it on there and we're ready to go. So here you see me adjusting it, and I had to pick it up a little bit because it kept sliding down. So now I do the other side, and what it does is it makes them flush. So as you can see here, it focuses, and you can see that the brass tube and the pieces of wood are flush to each other. So now what we're going to do is put them onto the lathe. So the first step is to loosen those pieces in the back so that I could get to the mandrel, and the mandrel is that little bar that's sticking out right there. So I take off that little I forget what it's called every time. Oh man. So I put it on there, right? I take off that bushing, slide it on there, and you'll see me reach in the background for another bushing, or 4 more bushings, because with this one it's a 7mm pen. So with this one, it's just like the basic size, or like basically like it's like what is it called, like a universal basically. So this mandrel, you can use it for all sorts of sizes of pens and thicknesses. So this one is a 7mm, and that's like the basic one. So once I have it on there, I tighten it, because if you don't have the bushings on there, then it won't stay still and you won't be able to turn it. Because for you to turn it, it has to stay still and it has to be tightened. So now I grab my tool rest, and what I do is I usually straighten it out, or I always do this. I straighten it out as straight as possible, and once I do that, I put it to the distance or the height that I need it to be, and you can see that I'm adjusting it so that I get it to what I need it to be, or how it needs to be. And here is a little bit of, or a lot of slow-mo. So yeah, I'll let y'all listen to it because I know the noise is satisfying. So usually when I make these wood pens, it doesn't take too long for me to get them done because they're really soft. So I get them done pretty fast. So as you can see, I'm using that chisel to carve off the side, and I use this chisel for most of it because the wood's really soft and you can break it. So I start cutting into it, and little by little I start shaping it to the shape that I want it to be. And this one was thin, so I go over it and I start shaping it here and there, and I use a caliper to measure the size that I want it to be, the thickness. And for these I use oil, and then I use a sealer, and after that I use wax. So this is once it's off the mandrel. So you have your pieces here, you got your back piece, and then you got your piece of wood, you got your middle piece, and then you have your mechanism, your ink cartridge, and then the tip of your pen. So when I make them or before I actually put them together, I always set them up in the way they need to be. So the first part is to put that together, and here is one of the newer tools that I have. This is a pen press slash it's assembly slash disassembling pen. Okay, so this is that little metal pieces to take off the, what is it called, the pen mechanism, so you could slide, like, take it off and everything. And then these are little punch bars that it has. They have all these different sizes, and that is so that you can take the pen apart. And later on in the future, I'll make a video on how to take a pen apart, just so that y'all could see whenever I have to repair pens from customers. So as you can see here, I put it into place, and what you want is for the piece of wood and the metal to be flush together. So as you can see, they're flush, and then now I'll put the mechanism. So you want to get it to that first line or the very last line, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it a little bit and then I'll try to see how far it sticks out, because sometimes if you put it too far in, then it sticks out way too much, and if you twist it, it just doesn't work. So I put that back piece on there. I had to push it up a little bit more because it didn't go flush. If you can see how it closes right there. So now the pieces are completely flush. So now you grab your back piece of the pen and you grab the front piece and you put it on there. This one was a little hard to put on there, so yeah. So now you have your finished product. This is a hybrid twist pen, and it's basically a double hybrid because I made that piece of wood in the front. That was pretty cool. So here is what it looks like up close. It's a pretty cool pen. It came out really good, and yeah, I was surprised on how good it came out, because sometimes I surprise myself with what I could do. So as you can see here, the pen barely sticks out, so I had to readjust it. So here I pull the back piece out, and then I will slide it a little bit forward. As I said earlier, that I'll adjust them here and there so that I could see how much it needs to be going out. And I usually do this, as you can see here. I test it to see if it comes out enough, and if it doesn't, then I'll push a little bit more. So right there. And I keep doing this until I get it to where it's enough, because if you push it too far, how I said, it won't work and it'll come out a little ugly. So right there is a perfect amount of the pen tip coming out. So now I am good to go. So here you go, you got both pieces on there. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And one more thing, don't forget to have a amazing and wonderful blessed day. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at RickyTurner18.